Hey everybody, welcome back to our train along program. This is teaching recall and using the place-to-place method. So recall is one of the things that my clients struggle with most. If you have a dog that is easily distracted, recall can be basically a nightmare, whether you're in a dog park and trying to get your dog to come back to you, or if he's, got out of the fence and you want him to come back to the house. I would be lying if I said that there wasn't a point in time before, I started training that I had to chase my dog up and down the street because while she thought it was a game, I was terrified that a car was going to come around the corner and hit her. So that her recall was crap. Me following her around and screaming after her was much more fun to her than her coming back into the neighbor's yard and hanging out. So if you do have a dog in that situation, I would say go e-collar all the way. E-collar makes it a lot easier to get through to your dog if they're distracted, whether that be by a squirrel, by a person, by another dog, or just, the world around them. But to teach recall, or recall for those of you that don't know, recall means come. So to teach your dog to come to you the first time, every time, I like to start by using place to place and while the dogs are on a prong collar. So we started by putting two places out, and the place really gives them a target. And of course you are the target a lot of the time, but it also helps with their understanding of place and their understanding of being able to be sent to place and to remain there. So with place-to-place recall, we will start out by kind of guiding. So we're walking her along, and this happened a little earlier in the video. We were walking Stella along, telling her to come. When she's almost there, then you say place. And Stella knows at this point that place is an automatic sit, so she should be sitting. If she's downing, we're okay with that. And then in this situation, you see at the current moment on the video that I'm actually giving her a little more freedom. So I'm actually walking behind the place board before I call her. So she's realizing that, every time I walk away, she is going to come to me, but she does have to wait for me to ask her first. So the way that it goes, you say come. Once they're almost there, once they're committed to coming directly to you, you tell them to go to place. So you direct them onto the place board. Should they veer left or right, you give them a little bit of directional guidance using the prong. If you're doing this with e-collar, which we'll have a whole e-collar video for this, but if you're doing it with e-collar, then you're going to want to go back on your continuous button when they veer off and tell them to come again. So you're just drawing them into you, you're giving them motivation to come into you, and once they nail it, all pressure goes off, whether that be prong pressure, e-collar pressure, whatever it is, and a reward. If you are working with recall in an area like a dog park, you want to make sure that you don't only use recall when it's time to go home, especially when learning. A lot of people put recall as the end of things, or, they use the word come to get in the bath. Come here. If your dog doesn't like baths, you telling them to come to get into the bath is probably going to make them really not like the word come even more. So I would definitely, in the beginning, try to keep come neutral and exciting. If you do have a high energy dog that gets super excited when you use high pitched squeaky voices, we would typically tell you not to use those. Don't use them as a reward for sit and down. Don't use them as a reward for place, because all it's going to do is amp your dog up. But in this situation, using those high-pitched squeaky voices is perfect because we want energy, we want excitement. So you can see our little buddy here, Chief. We've transitioned him to a long line for a recall. And we actually have a couple of his toys in the middle of the recall to help build distraction and give him a little bit of a chance for error. The more you challenge your dog, the more it's going to help them grow, and the more it's going to help them succeed in the real world. So get practicing on your place-to-place recall before you start taking outside. We'll see you next session.